What is going on? You are listening to TAGSPodcast, aka Talk About Gay Sex Podcast, celebrating 7 years of podcasting. This is our season 8 kickoff month, and more to come on that in a little bit. I am your host, Steve V. This is episode 570, alongside partner in crime today, Kodi, Maurice, Doggette. How the hell you doing, Kodi?
Hello, darling. I'm doing wonderful. How are you doing?
Good. I trust your Memorial Day weekend has gone well for you.
It's going okay. I'm going to be doing more memorializing tomorrow. We're going to the pool and we're going to have some burgers. It's going to be a great day. What about you? How's your Memorial Day weekend going?
Good. Actually, I was telling you offline that a friend of, it's graduation season. And for some reason, I know a lot of graduates this particular year. I was at a brunch last weekend, and then yesterday went to a friend's that I actually met at a speed dating. You were friends with him too. Shout out to
Yes.
Rod.
Hey,
And
buddy.
yeah, I always love telling that story because at speed dating, we were placed in different category age groups. And in the mingling hour, Rod and I just really were nonstop chatting. And I didn't get dates out of it, or I did go on 2 dates, but nothing came of it. But I got a friendship out of it, which is the best part. And it was his master's graduation that he got over the weekend, and had a party at, if you come to New York City, check out this little tiny spot called Club Cummings. And it is Alan Cummings' little cabaret spot. And on Saturdays, they do Romeo and Michelle's tea dance, which is a lot of fun. You basically, like the film, you put your request on Post-it notes, whatever song you want, and they will play it for you. So
Love that.
we just had a blast dancing, and all the fun pop hits over the years were played, and just a really fun time. So congratulations to Rod. And
Congratulations,
yeah.
Rod. And did you know I invented Post-it notes?
You, excuse me?
That's from the movie.
Oh,
I
God.
invented the glue that goes on the post. I love that movie. It's
I've
so
got
great.
to rewatch it soon.
We've got to rewatch it, and then we go to the party. So that's going to be great.
That is great. Definitely. That would be a lot of fun. Absolutely. Okay. Well, so much to get into. It's just you and I holding down the fort, but we've got a ton to get through, including a couple weeks ago, the LGBTQ Center Gala in Los Angeles. My good friend out there, my best friend actually, is on the board, and they are the largest LGBT center, I believe, in the world, and they were able with their gala to raise over $1.6 million. And I recently was fortunate to visit the campus, which is extraordinary in Hollywood. Elder for our LGBTQ elders. There's a whole home and a restaurant there. There is tons of programs for the trans community, living. I mean, on and on and on. They really look out for and do a lot of great work out there. Well, they just honored Cynthis Erivo as at the gala, which I love, by the way. She's so cool.
Love her.
And yeah, in her moving speech, she said, "It is a privilege to be on this stage tonight because for so long I lived in deep admiration of anyone who could fully embody their authentic self, wear their queenness like a feather boa, and proudly state this is a beautiful part of who I am." And she's going to be in the upcoming Wicked. She, which is exciting. She said,
Yeah.
I used to say, and this is the part that got me. I used to say that it felt like I was looking at my own community from inside a glass box. There you all were, vibrant and beautiful and falling in love, and I had my nose pressed up against the glass, looking out at all of you, separate and apart. And it took me time for me to outgrow my box. And she said, well, the glass has been shattered, and she is embracing this. And I just thought, what a beautiful speech, a really vivid description of how many of us thought of before we came out. And it's never too late to embrace your queerness. And I just think it's a wonderful thing. I mean, when you heard about this, and Cynthia, what did you think?
Well, I love her. I saw her. I think I've known about her for a while. I was gonna say I saw her in The Color Purple, but I think it was LaChance that I saw in The Color Purple. But that's neither here nor there. I think she's beautiful. She's talented. She's living in her truth. And what better way to exemplify that than by giving a speech and letting everybody know what it feels like to be closeted. I think that she has an amazing career behind and ahead of her, and I can't wait to see what she does because she's really a shining light in this community. So I want to thank her.
I agree as well. And did you know that her girlfriend is Lena Waite?
I did not know that, but now
Yeah,
that I've read this story, I am so excited that these two beautiful people are together, and I love Lena Waithe too. I think she's
me
so brilliant and
too.
smart,
Oh my
and
gosh.
yeah, I want to be adopted by them.
Right? Just reminds me too, The Shy is back, one of my favorite
Yep.
shows, and I've got to get back on that. I think it started already, and it's like one of my favorite shows that I look forward to every year. I mentioned that just because it's Lena's show that she
Yes.
um, produces,
Hmm.
actually. And as opposed to, okay, so Lena, Cynthia, amazing. Somebody else that was talking about being out recently is Andrew Scott. Andrew Scott, you might know, he's had a big year. Ripley is the show that I just finished watching, which is really amazing, about the talented Mr. Ripley.
Hmm.
Very stylish, very cool, all done in black and white in Italy and thereabouts. And he's really phenomenal in it. He's in Strangers, the movie Strangers,
Passing strangers.
not Passing Strangers, but there's another movie about strangers. I could look it up in a minute, but anyways, that was getting Oscar buzz. It didn't get nominated, but anyway, he's pretty much on fire right now, and he has been talking. So he's been talking about his sexuality because I guess he gets asked about it a lot. I would say it's because recently he's been playing two gay characters, so maybe the question isn't out of the question. Here's some of the things that he said we'll discuss. He said, it's wonderful to be able to talk about sexuality in an open way, but I do feel sometimes other people, and by other people, I mean straight people, don't have to explain or talk about their sexuality every time that they go to work. And the idea that I'm being defiant by just being exactly who I am, be open about it. Why wouldn't you be open about it? But the word openly for me just seems a little loaded. A lot of this stuff has really affected me in my own life growing up. He says, God knows I didn't have a lot of gay content. We live in an identity politics era. We're separating each other more than we need to. And the hysteria about your sexuality and how that is something that is only understandable to people who belong to the same tribe as you, well, it just doesn't seem truthful. Sometimes I find it hard when you're doing press because I feel so joyful and so emancipated. It seems like I always want to talk about the difficulties that I have with being gay when actually it's the greatest joy of my life. What is the best thing that we could do? He asked. I don't have the definite answer. Would it be unusual for us not to mention my sexuality at all? So, pondering questions. We were talking about it in our meeting last week, and we're like, wait, what is he
Hmm.
really saying?
We
So it
needed
was
some
like, in
clarification.
one sense, yeah, in one sense, it sounds like he's happy about it, obviously, and but it's why do I keep getting asked this question so much? Why is do straight people have to answer for themselves? And it struck me because you hear Cynthia truly embracing shattering that glass ceiling, and a more nuanced response about their sexuality. Andrew Scott, of course, is what who I'm talking about, is a little bit more mm, nuanced, I think, on how he feels
Hmm.
about talking about it. What do you think about what Andrew's saying or what he's proposing? Should they have to talk about their sexuality at all?
So first of all, the movie is All of Us Strangers. I googled it.
Thank you.
Wow. And I don't think he should have to do anything that he doesn't want to do. I definitely see where he's coming from. Like our straight counterparts, they don't have to come out. They don't have to. They're not treated as novelties. They're not constantly getting questions about what it's like to be gay. So I understand where he's coming from. It can be a bit invasive from what I gather, and he doesn't like necessarily being treated differently from his our straight counterparts or anybody that he's working with that is straight. So I get that part. But then on the other side, the flip side is he also mentions that he didn't have the representation of somebody like him being on the screen and being able to answer these questions. So it's kind of a catch 22 if you're going to be out there and representing our community, I think a part of him definitely, he would have liked it if he, I don't want to say owed. So I'm going to say I a piece of him, his younger self, would have liked to have somebody that would have advocated for him when he was younger. So he he would probably enjoy doing it for somebody else right now. So I think that there's a part of me that feels like I'm going to just go ahead and say that he owes it to the younger community to give to them what he didn't have himself. So that part of it, I feel like he should just kind of bite the bullet. I'm not saying for him to be completely open with whatever he's doing in the bedroom, things that he's not comfortable with, but I am saying that, be out and proud and saying that it'll get better. I think that a lot of that goes a long way, and just, saying who you are.
Yeah, I think that we are in a transition period once again where it's a great time with the faces of like Coleman Domingo, Cynthia Erivo, now Andrew Scott, and we're getting all of these like seeing queer people play queer characters, which we didn't have. And so you might be getting more questions about this on the red carpet these days. You might have to talk about it a little bit more because we're in a transition period. That's an exciting time, I think,
Mm-hmm.
but may that may not always be the case as we continue to see more of our faces on the screen. So I just think it's par for the core right now.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think that as soon as it becomes less and less of novelty, quote unquote, I think that those questions will definitely fall to the wayside.
Yes, and following up on Kansas City Chiefs kicker Harrison Butker was actually defending his sexist anti-LGBTQ plus commencement speech recently and saying if it wasn't clear that the timeless Catholic values are hated by many, it is now, he said, during another speech he was giving in Nashville. And this was just Friday night. And he actually likened himself to many of the saints that have come before him that are in the Bible,
Girl.
that they've had to go, what they've gone through being challenged. He says, at the outset, many people expressed a shocking level of hate. But as the days went on, even those who disagreed with my viewpoints shared their support for my freedom of religion. He said that our love for Jesus and thus our desire to speak out should never be outweighed by the longing of our fallen nature to be loved by the world. He said, I can't help but tremble at the thought of the courage many saints have shown in their life. Which would almost imply, like, okay, you're a saint now? Is that what we're trying to say? He
Girl,
says,
put her on the cross, girl. Let's go.
he goes on to say, would I be so bold if the repercussion was what Daniel faced in being fed to lions?
Oh
Daniel
my
from
God.
the Old Testament. He says, in reality, any courage I've shown will lead to some small suffering, and it will lead to some people maybe never liking me, but that could be God's will, said he. And I just keep thinking, it's like your speech was not what a commencement speech I feel should really be about. It should be uplifting and really giving inspiration, commending the students that are about to go off into their next level and inspire people. And instead it seemed like more of a lecture. And actually he's likens himself to a saint, but his speech was more hate filled, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, if you don't, we don't have to like your speech, and many of us don't, but you spilled hate in your speech when you said that Pride, our upcoming Pride, is for sinners. And when you said things about women that, as speaking for women, as if that's all their whole place is to be in the kitchen. And I just think that was not inspiring at all. That was more hate mongering. So, what did you think with this follow up that he said?
Girl, she's a mess, and they need to take the microphone away from her. This is wild to me. The fact that he compared himself to a saint, that's neither here nor there. I feel like he already thinks that he is something special. So I take that with a grain of salt. The fact that really got me is that he said that his religious freedoms were being persecuted, or he alluded to that basically. And I really feel like nobody is trying to restrict your religious freedoms. But you, sir, in your speech, you want to restrict the rights and privileges of many people, of women, of gay people, and I think that he thinks it's okay for us to get put back into the closet or put into the kitchen, but for him, he gets to do whatever he wants, and that's not the way it should work. That's not the way life should be. I feel like he feels like he's being persecuted, and he's not. Nobody's persecuting him, and he really needs to open his mind, read a book, talk to somebody. I wish you could have saw the eye roll that I was doing when when you started
Well,
talking about this man. He might be a little insane. He's very high on his horse and drinking his own Kool-Aid.
yeah, I mean, it's interesting because sports figures like him, we don't often hear them speak, right? And now we know it's a good thing. Like, just play your sport, keep it on the field, but we don't really need to hear your thoughts on how you are a public figure. It is going to get out, and it just seems like our community often, as we approach Pride Month, we get people are really threatened by our community. Like, why do you
Mhm.
get this whole month? What? And it's like a month of sinners, and it's like, listen, you don't have to go to the Pride parade. You don't have to do anything. Like, but don't hate on us and don't be threatened by us. And it just
Yeah.
reminds me also in Florida, where the governor, Ron DeSantis, remember him?
Girl.
He is marking Pride Month in one of the most petty ways possible. So apparently, every year in uh, Florida, and there's a bridge that they will light up with the rainbow colors to mark Pride Month. And this summer, they're actually going to be doing Freedom Summer because Governor DeSantis has decreed that the next 4 months will be Freedom Summer in the Sunshine State. As part of the initiative, big Florida bridges will be illuminated in the colors red, white, and blue between this weekend, Memorial Day, and Labor Day, where in previous we did get the Sunshine Skyway and Ringling Causeway had pride colors. And so this June, well, don't expect to see those. All you're going to get is red, white, and blue. And it's like, why do we need a summer with all of the freedom summer, red, white, and blue, Cody?
I have no idea. I think she's being petty, Rhonda DeSantis, and I think because of her failed presidential campaign, I thought all this was going to stop. Actually, I thought because I don't really feel like this is genuine hate towards us. I feel it's all performative so that Ron
Right.
DeSantis can get elected to president or reelected to governor. But he's really ruining the entire state. So I think that this is something that I want to see stop, and I don't believe that. I can't believe this. This is some. It's two petty men that want us to go back in the closet, and they want our rights and freedoms and privileges to be restricted, and I can't believe it. It's such a big pushback from where we came from. So the reason we get pride too is because we've been had so many years pressed upon us for us to feel shame. So we need this month really gives us a sense of belonging and unity. So that's why we have pride, fellas.
Yeah, it's just dog whistles to the far right. And it also continuously separates and has a divisiveness to it when you do things like this. I mean, it's almost like straight guys that want a straight pride. Where's our pride parade or where's our month? And it's like every day is yours, mister.
Yes.
And it's like, I mean, if it makes you happy to have red, white, and blue to show you're a red state, and that I don't know, but like you said, I think it's just performative. It's probably to get into Donald Trump's good graces because he knows it will further separate us, and I'm sure it's a cry for that. He's a big baby, though. I mean, if
Little
you ask
men.
me. Yeah,
Little men.
exactly. Well, wow. This next story, a man pleaded guilty to using explicit selfies to extort cybertalk grinder victims. And this was a Chicago man on Wednesday who pleaded guilty in an Ohio federal courtroom to extorting money and sex from men he met through social media Grindr. And his name is Omar U. Let me see if I can say this. Omar Yuyi. You I can't even say his last name. You want? I can't. I think it's African. He's 28. He pleaded guilty in the U.S. District Court in Columbus to 22 counts, including cyber stalking, interstate communications with the intent to extort, and unlawfully using a means of identification. The Columbus Dispatch reported, and essentially, he would go on there, and if the victim refused to comply with his demands, he would threaten them to reveal imagery to the person's family, friends, coworkers. He did do that to a guy and put it all over Facebook and said this guy is gay, and the guy wasn't even out to
Wow.
his family. And it's just, but I'm so glad this guy could actually face up to, if he's sentenced, he could get over 50 years in prison. And I'm so glad they caught him. I mean, when you hear
Yeah.
stuff like this, I think for you and I,
Yeah.
we'd be like, go ahead, post it. But we are a minority, and not everybody is as out as we are, sharing
Yeah.
everything. And, you know, I've heard of stories like this where people will want to commit suicide because they can't imagine that getting out and their families knowing about this.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. And I have to put myself in the space that I was in when I was still in the closet for me to kind of connect to this story. Because, like you said, now I am in no way, shape, form, or fashion moved by anybody saying I'm going to release your nudes to the internet. I'm be like, they're already there, honey, and my mom has probably seen them. So
Right.
I have no qualms about that. But putting myself back into that space, I would be really worried. I think that. That's such a horrible thing to do to someone, to take their autonomy away from them being able to come out when they say they want to come out, because that's a personal journey. That's something that you have to come to of your own accord. And I just think it's really horrible. And I'm glad, like you said, I'm glad that he is getting prosecuted for this, not persecuted, prosecuted for his crimes. And I hope he really gets the book thrown at him, so to be an example for other people not to do this, because it's really easy to do, I feel like.
Yeah, very easy to do. And to put yourself in his place, going back in time, I've told this story before on the show, but I had this happen to me when I was in college, when I wasn't out. And it was a guy that I went on a couple dates with. He was older than me, and he essentially just was weird. And I could pick up on his bizarre energy and decided to just break it off. And it was like one of the first guys I ever dated. Like I said, wasn't out, still in college, and had an internship at a radio station. And he not threatened, actually sent a letter to the sales department and our program director at the radio station. And we were a major market radio station, so we had big time advertisers. And I will never forget, I had to go into the office of, here I am, this intern, and thank goodness the program director was very cool about it and didn't blame me at all. But he also called my parents too, my dad, and
Wow.
and said that I was sleeping around with every guy on the UC Berkeley campus. Now, maybe I wanted to, but I definitely wasn't at that
I was
time.
gonna say, were you though? I mean,
Yeah,
that
we
sounds like
got
a
a
dream to me.
right. We got a little bit of revenge on him later. I won't have time to tell that
Ooh,
whole story, but
tell me
maybe
afterwards.
I'll tell you afterwards, or maybe on our Patreon. But essentially, yeah. But it's nice to see that now we didn't even have Grinder back then, but now we do. And you're right. It is so easy to do things like this. And people are desperate and will do desperate things to get money out of people.
Yeah.
And, when you're playing with outing people, it's just horrible. I hope you're right. I hope this is a huge example of like, don't go there, because I mean, 50 years, wow, that's crazy. I mean, I'm happy if he gets that, but it's like, wow, right? I mean,
Yeah, I can't even imagine locked up for 50 years.
50
Whew.
years, yeah.
Especially now.
So good.
I'd be 25 when I came out.
Yeah, oh, right, going backwards, exactly. Um, you know, as I wanted to talk about this story because there is, this guy, Sebastian Samuel in the UK. He actually started Drag Queen Story Hour in the UK, and he just the other day proposed to his boyfriend out in public and afterwards was attacked. And he just has one of the most amazing attitudes about this whole thing. But Samuel had asked his boyfriend to marry him earlier the day they were going out, and when the two were walking by a McDonald's about 3 a.m., this is in Wales. Two men started calling them slurs, and he asked them why they were doing that. And the men then began beating the couple. Samuel was knocked out and suffered a broken jaw and actually needs surgery. And he said, "quote This is the night of my anniversary. It's the night I proposed to my boyfriend. Now I am here crying," he told Pink News. And the you know he couldn't, when he was proposing to his boyfriend, they dropped the ring and couldn't find it. And you know that he went back with his jaw broken and everything, and he was on his knees for 2 hours looking for that ring because
Oh,
he was determined to find it. And he
did he find
found
it?
it. He found
Oh,
it.
good.
And the other thing that is remarkable about him is that his drag queen story hour in the Regent's Parks in London is set for July 7th and 14. And he said he's actually looking forward to returning as Aida, he said in a recent post. And he's not going to be shadowed by hate. And I just think, wow, for so many people, I mean, this would be like, forget it, unpacking this up. I'm never going to do this again. Should we even get married? I mean, and I think he's just rising above. What a shining example, and horrible what he went through.
Oh, for sure. I'm just glad that he has such a positive attitude about this. Like you said, I don't know if I could possibly come out of it with that positive an outlook on anything. But he's right though. We should not let the people that hate us bring us down and make us go back in the
Cody,
closet or live in shame. If anything, during Pride Month, we should be living
Cody,
our lives out loud and putting it in the face of the people who would put us back in the closet. I feel like I've said that like a couple times tonight, but I feel like the stories have lent to, maybe that could be our theme, getting out
yeah.
of the closet and getting back into the light.
Absolutely, definitely. Oh my goodness. Well, we wish him well. Okay, this might be a good time to talk about our season 8. And we are in the middle of a special offer that we want you to take advantage of. When you join our Patreon page between now and June 30th, the end of Pride Month, you can get an exclusive live stream hosted by myself and Kodi Maurice, who's going to be singing live, including his current song hit, Talk About It, inspired by Tags Podcast. It's going to be a special evening that you can join with us that will happen in July. And we're going to be exchanging personal stories, live music. It's going to be a lot of fun, some special guests, hopefully, as well. But you can get this exclusive live stream, and we want you to be a part of it. And you can do so by joining our Patreon page and grabbing a tier. There's only 2 tiers. And when you do, you get things like commercial free, you get bonus topics. That's right. And a bonus episode every month. So if you like hearing us talk and you want to hear us more, grab one of the 2 tiers. And I'm talking about the virgin and the sub tiers. There's also cool things like our monthly hangout that you can hang out with us, and so many other fun perks that you'll get part of this community. And we invite you to join and go to patreon.com/tags podcast. And Kodi, you're going to be singing live. And I know that you said you might
Yes.
do a cover, and we could make some requests. Doesn't mean you'll sing it, but we can make some requests in honor
Mm-hmm.
of Romy and Michelle. And my post-it
Ooh.
note, I was thinking about this, and I was thinking, you know what song I could hear Cody singing? I don't know if you'd like it, but George Michael's
Oh
Careless
my God.
Whisper.
I love that song. And you know what? I was thinking about George Michael's Outside.
Oh, okay. Well, you want to go for that song? I love that song.
Right? It's so good.
Yeah,
So we definitely have to include some George Michael. So let us know what George Michael you want to hear. And yeah, I can't
exactly.
wait. I am so excited. I've been planning out my set list in my head and what stories I want to tell. And I just think it's going to be a lot of fun. So you guys sign up for the Patreon, come see about us. And I can't wait to perform for you guys.
Me too. Grab a tier, go to patreon.com/tags podcast. And when you grab a tier and you join our community, you are actually supporting the podcast you've known and come to love. So again, it's patreon.com/tags podcast, and more to come down as we continue this fun road. Okay, well, back to topics here. The gays were recently asking on Twitter, how should you compliment a guy when you're flirting with them? And this discussion went on for a very long time. It was question for the guys, what are you supposed to call dudes when you're flirting with them? Said guy, bunny explorer. Pretty boy feels too feminine, and cutie sounds infantile, but handsome sounds stupid. Yeah, there's some people said you could go for the masculine forms like bro, big guy, big dog.
What?
I don't know about those. I
Oh,
my former
no.
tr- my former trainer always calls me big guy and that kind of thing, and I like it when he calls it to me, but wouldn't be something that I would use. Guys for me have used stud before, and I think that's kind of hot sometimes. I
Oh,
like the
yeah.
word stud. It also is like an old word. It reminds me a word that was probably used like in the 70s, but carried it over all these years, and I think it works. I don't it doesn't, for me, flirting and the words you choose, should you have to own it, and I'm
Mhm.
not comfortable using that word for other people. I love it when they use it on me. The word I'm comfortable using when I'm flirting with something is sexy. Hey sexy is the one I tend to use, or if it's in Mexico where I'm often at, papi is usually something I use too.
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah. How about you? What do you use to flirt, and what do you think of some of the words that some of these guys use to flirt?
I use baby a lot, and also gorgeous really seems to work well for me. I say, "Hey, gorgeous, how you doing?" You look.
Oh, that's a good
So,
one.
I know. I trust me. I know it works a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think all of those are perfect. Not big
Not
guy,
hello, darling.
no, hello, darling is what I say for my girlfriends. Hello, girlfriends. Hello, darling.
Yes, exactly.
So all of you out there are not my girlfriends. But yeah, so I think bro is too trying to be straight. It's
It really is.
verging
Yeah.
on toxic masculinity. So and big guy, yeah, that's right there too. So I think those should be not in the lexicon as far as flirting words go. But I do think something that's complimentary towards them and something that you're comfortable with, like you said, own it.
Right. Yeah. Hey girl is your girlfriend's. That doesn't work at all. And
It's
sometimes I
somebody
watch. Yeah,
good.
this isn't flirting at all, but on one of my reality shows that I watch, Vanderpump Rules, guilty pleasure. They call each other dude, and I'm talking guys will tell the girl co-stars with them, dude, blah blah blah, dude. I can't believe that you da 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 da. And it's like, dude, it's like it's not flirting at all, but I could never call somebody dude. That would just not really work. But
Yeah.
I like gorgeous. I think that's a really good one. Baby, you said. I am using it now with this guy that I'm dating now.
Uh-huh.
And so it feels like we didn't just start calling each other baby. We had to kind of work into that. And
Yeah.
then I couldn't just start calling somebody baby. It would be like too soon unless I really thought of you as my baby.
Okay,
And
I hear that, but I'm
yeah.
just doing it to try and get them into bed mostly.
Well, there you go.
And it's
Yeah.
not baby BABY, it's baby BB because BABY is different. But if you say it, then they don't really know what the difference is.
Ooh, I just saw the hit musical the other day, Hell's Kitchen,
Uh huh.
featuring the music. of Alicia Keys, and she wrote the songs, and she's a producer on it, and it's loosely based on
Love
her
that.
story. But one of the songs in there is "Baby, Baby, Baby." Do you know that song? Baby, baby, baby. Do you know that song?
uh, that's ooh, you don't know my name.
You don't know my name, right?
Yes.
Does she sing
I was like,
"Baby, Baby, Baby" in there?
yeah, yeah. It,
Yeah, it's okay, yeah, so it's called "You Don't Know My Name," and it was phenomenal, that
yeah. Was
song,
she in
and yeah.
it? No.
No, but the singers, no, so it's loosely based on her life. She produced it. She wrote the songs and music for it. It's all her music, and she grew up in Hell's Kitchen, and so
Ah,
it's kind of this loosely based thing. But her name's written all over this musical.
so you know.
It's her baby. But that
It's her baby,
song, yeah,
baby,
it's not called
baby.
"Baby, Baby, Baby," but when the singer sang that, I was like, "Oh, let me go get this song again. I forgot about You Don't Know My Name. I love that song.
Yeah, I love that,
Such a
especially the
good one."
breakdown when she's like, "I put some milk and cream in there for you."
Honey, the audience had chills. I mean, we were screaming. I mean, the layering of these voices.
Love it.
It's so I can't wait for you to see it. You're just gonna
Me
die.
too. I
Yes.
can't wait.
Okay, switching gears here and about face to some health news, our gay health news. The latest news about HIV infection rates in the US is both good and bad. And that's because the HIV transmission rates among men in the US fell further in 2022. And this is according to data from the CDC. The number of cases was down 12% in 2022 compared to 2018. That sounds like good news. Among the groups showing the biggest drop was the youngest age group, and that's from 13 to 24.
Oh,
This
wow.
category saw a 30% drop. That's really, oh,
That's
I
really
love
good.
that news that
Yeah.
younger people, probably a lot has to do with social media and all the ads that are all over our queer websites, and just you see more of it on
Yep.
TV. So, and they're more in tune with things like this. So I think that's really good. There was a significant drop amongst Black men of 18% and across the southern states generally of 16%. So that's good news too, because we always say Black and Brown communities are the ones that are disproportionately impacted by this getting this. And so in the UK, there was a 33% drop in new HIV cases between 2019 and 2021. And health experts there believe the country is on track to reduce transmission to near zero by 2030. That would be
Wow.
amazing. So, without significant increases for care and treatment and prevention programs, including those for PrEP, sadly, we will continue to experience only small drops in the number of new diagnoses, and radical and ethnic disparities will persist. And so, this is good news, but I think leading experts still feel as though we should almost really not be seeing any, with obviously things like PrEP and people, U equals U, and yet we're still seeing people get infected every year. I mean, when you hear these, for the most part, good news, what do you think about this, Cody?
I think it's important to celebrate wins, and I see this as a win. I understand that people are still getting infected at, especially in disproportionate rates in ethnic communities, which I think is something that we should probably strive to overcome. But overall, I think that these numbers are really good. And if you take a step back and look at it from a larger scale, this is really good. And I think especially that number for the 18 to 25 year olds, that is
Yes.
amazing, because then it's going to hopefully trickle down to all of the other demographics as well, because it's something that it's so easy to do it for us to get the message out there about PrEP, and having it almost to 0% in by 2030 in the UK. That's also something that we should be celebrating. So I think that we need to continue doing the work, but we should pat ourselves on the back as well, because this is good news at the end of the day.
Yes, it's really good news, and we have to celebrate these really improved numbers. And so I hope we continue with that. Staying somewhat on health news here, there was a guy that was asking a question on a popular website, asking the question, I panic over catching an STI on every hookup. How can I release this obsession and just enjoy the sex? He said that he's pretty new to the gay scene. He's out to his friends at college, but not yet to his family. And for the first time, he's venturing into the world of dating apps. And he had so far a handful of hookups in the school year, but he's been stressed out. Even though I practice safe sex, I freak out after every encounter and can't relax until I get an STI test. I literally lie awake in bed at night and start imagining symptoms, convincing myself I've contracted something, even though I never have yet. At this point, I'm practically on a first name basis with the nurse at my campus clinic, since I've
Whoa.
been in almost a dozen times since September, and it's getting embarrassing. You know, he's talking about STIs. He didn't use the word HIV. I'm wondering, he says safer sex, so I'm wondering if he's using condoms. But I know it could be hard and you can obsess over these things. And that could actually maybe be an OCD thing that he's struggling with. I think we all don't want to get STIs, but I think he's doing the right thing by getting checked out. And that nurse is probably happy to see you because you're doing the right thing. You're checking to see if you got anything, and you're also preventing spreading any potential STIs. And so if you're taking, if he could get on PrEP, I think he would probably feel even better about it because he wouldn't be getting HIV, and then he would just have to continue just checking on his STIs. I mean, what do you think about, is he being having too much OCD about this?
I feel like I am the same as him, actually. I feel like after a hookup, I go over in my mind, okay, you definitely uh, need to get checked out because there's a million things that could go wrong as far as you getting an STD or anything like that. So I go pretty regularly when I am out there, having casual sex. But I think it's something that I've learned to control because once you arm yourselves with preventative measures, then it's that much easier to go about your day. And yes, you need to get checked out and sorry, you need to get checked out and hold your health in your own hands and make sure that you're doing the things that you need to protect yourself and to protect others. But you can't let it consume your life. So you need to take a deep breath and keep it moving and arm yourselves with the things that you can do to prevent you from getting STI.
Right. And like I said, I think he would really benefit like getting on PrEP if he could do that, just
For
because
sure.
you would really feel that much more confident when we were just talking about this the other day, when PrEP is 99% effective, that is just great. And then STIs, it's like, even if you did, I mean, get tested as much as you want to, but there are things that can combat it, and you can, it, remedy it. So
Yeah.
I mean, but I hear, it can be stressful. It's just you don't want it to consume you either. And you want to be able to
Yeah.
enjoy sex. And think about earlier generations that struggled with, you know, not using a condom, or the condom broke. And remember those communities before us. I was part of that at one point where, you were lived in such fear about the 2 weeks it took to get your HIV test results back, and you convinced yourself that you had it. And so remember those periods, and thank God that we're not in that. And so,
Ooh. Ooh.
yeah, I
Girl,
know.
that used to be rough.
Really rough. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I think I'm just so grateful these days because I often remember that, and I just remember that I can get tested for my STIs, and my I have conversations with my straight doctor, and he prescribes, we do all the right things. So when I know I'm doing all the right things that my doctor tells me I'm doing, and then I think about those earlier times, it's just, I'm so grateful to be here now. So,
Yep,
yeah.
I
Oh my
agree.
gosh. Awesome. We covered a lot of territory as usual. I love it. You can always follow my co host on Instagram. He's a life coach. Follow him at KMD Coaching or his personal account at Mr. Maurice. And his brand new single, Talk About It, is out. So get it wherever you download your music. And he will be performing that in our upcoming live stream that you definitely want to take a part of. It's on our Patreon page. You can follow me on the gram. I am _ Steve V. Go to my Twitter account for a preview of my Just for Fans or Only Fans, and that's at TAGSPodcast on X. So much fun, Kodi, as
Yes.
always. And in the meantime, continue having hot,
Hot
gay
sex.
sex. Lovely.